Alright guys, so I got 1 out of 2 guns to do a video on. So the customer is actually local for this. And again, he's going to be dropping off a second gun. He's going to be picking this one up and then dropping off an M4. I just decided, well, he can't pick it up quite yet. He's not going to be able to pick it up for a few days. I'll just get a video done. I'll put both of the guns in the same video. It's not a big deal. They're not special enough or upgraded enough, in my opinion, to put them in their own videos, so I'm just going to put in 2 videos and just keep it short. So this is actually an ECHO1 SCAR. Now this is the newer versions. If you could not tell, the upper receiver is in like a tan. It's not a bronze, a shiny bronze, kind of like a yellowish or gold rather, on the older versions. Now correct me if I'm wrong on those being the older versions, this being the newer version. Hope you guys can see this, but yeah, it's like a tan. I actually like the look of it. It's a matte too. The upper receiver, I believe, is CNC'd, like I'm pretty sure the old ones were as well. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it is not Cerakoted, but anodized, so it's pretty good quality. It's got a nice texture to it. Pretty good quality. I've never seen one of these SCAR receivers crack. They're fairly thick and made of good quality. So it's just a newer ECHO1 SCAR pretty much. Internals are the exact same thing you're going to find in the older SCARs. It's just kind of poopy internals. You know, poopy motor, just pretty much everything's poop. And SCARs are a huge pain to work on. I've had this gun for about a month. It took me about a month to fix it. I've been working on so many other guns. I've been working on 2 of mine. And probably like 6 or 7 other customers' guns. So this one took the longest because I was having the most issues with it. So externally it's totally stock. I'll just go through it. You got a cheek riser, 2 positions. That's also where the battery is housed. To me, a connector, of course. You got a, 3 or 4 position stock. Now the battery that I told them to buy, these are his son's guns. I've been talking to his father, of course. His son's probably 14, 15 years old. But I've recommended some batteries, and I'll show you those later so that you can still put the stock in and out if you'd like. You know, standard ambi selector switch, standard pistol grip, ambi magazine catch. Got the bolt lock, which is non-functional. I think the bolt lock's only functional on the VFC, so it's non-functional on this. Got the charging handle over here. You have a rotary style hop-up. This one is actually polycarb, which is kind of disappointing because the other ECHO1 SCAR that I had, that I just worked on, that I put a V12 in, it was just black. It was plastic. This is like a cheaper, clear polycarb, so maybe they switched to that. Again, maybe my theory is totally wrong with these being newer and those being older. Maybe those are newer and these are older, and they switched over to the black ones, which in my opinion are going to be better. Overall, they're literally the same type of hop-up, so you're not going to really see a performance difference. But if you're taking the gun apart and stuff, the polycarb is a lot more brittle, so you have to be careful with it. Stock hop-up, stock barrel, stock bucking. On the inside of the gun, I actually had to swap the gearbox shell. The way that the gearbox shell was in this, basically it was not cutting off on semi-auto. It was not shooting semi-auto. I tried 3 sets of trigger contacts, 3 different cutoff levers, different cutoff lever springs. No luck. And I ended up looking at it more detailed. And basically the screw that holds down the cutoff lever doesn't go down far enough. I tried to put shims on it. Shims didn't help. It still wasn't tight enough. Basically, the cutoff lever you could lift up and down. Too much movement. So I put it in that same cutoff lever, the stock cutoff lever, put it into a different gearbox shell, and it was tighter. And I was like, that has to be the issue. So I ditched the other gearbox shell. I have an aim top gearbox shell with radius. It's radius, so that's good. The aim top's a little bit better quality than ECHO1. Arguably, most of those come from similar factories, but it seems like it's a little bit better of a quality. So I put that in here. I also had to cut off the magazine ring, the magazine catch ring that's on the M4s. Obviously, this one doesn't need that, so I had to cut that off on the aim top gearbox shell. I have stock cylinder head, a stock tappet plate. We have an SHS metal rack piston with an aluminum piston head, all SHS. That was an SHS complete piston head. He had actually purchased that beforehand, which I was glad. He had purchased something really good. I also recommended other upgrades that I put in here. It's got 8mm stock ECHO1 bearings. The upgrades that I sold him, like I said, the SHS piston he had purchased on his own. The parts that I sold him a set of ZCI 13-1s, brand new set. I put them in here. I put the sector chip from the stock sector gear on here. It's a little bit smaller than, like, you know, a Lone X or an SHS, so I'm going to try feeding with multiple different mid caps. It feeds with a high cap. I've already tested that. But I'm going to try with a bunch of mid caps and see how that goes. Just because I'm curious at how it feeds, and I want to make sure the customer's going to be able to use, you know, mid caps and, you know, have it feed. So I put those in there, charged $20 for the gear set. I also put a WE motor in here. It's high torque. It's more speed than anything. It's got neomagnets in it. Now, this came from my WE ACR. It was very lightly used. I sold it to him for $20, which is a really good deal. So $20 for the gears, $20 for the motor, $20 for the gearbox shell. And since it took me so long to fix the gun, I'm not charging him any fee because I've had this for over a month. So I told him, don't worry about it. I'm still making money off the gears, the motor, and the gearbox shell, so we're all good there. But yeah, the main issue that I had was cutting off on semi-automatic, which was a huge issue with the gearbox shell. Turns out, it's just the gearbox shell, swapped it, it's good to go, cut-off's pretty good, semi-automatic trigger response is okay. Again, with the motor, it is WE Tech, but it's very, very similar to the ICS Turbo 3000, and in fact, my theory is that it's OEM'd by ICS, because it uses thin magnets, thin neomagnets, just like the Turbo 3000, and shoots similar rate of fire, just like the Turbo 3000, and has an O-type pinion, just like the Turbo 3000. The difference is the can is a different color, and the end bell is a different color. So I honestly think that it's either just a copy, you know, a straight-up copy of the Turbo 3000, or it is a Turbo 3000 internals, just with a different can and a different end bell. So that's my theory on it. I think it's the same thing. Performance is about the same. I've used Turbo 3000s and gotten very, very similar performance as this is. So yeah, upgrades, like I said, ZCI 13-1 gears, the WeTech, it's more of a high-speed motor, and an SHS motor rack piston. Everything else is stock. I did put a different spring in here because the one that was in here was really weak, and I was like, premature engagement might happen. So I put a random spring in here, and it shoots 350 with a .2. So it's CQB legal, so you can play at CQB. So I'm guessing it's like an M100, maybe an M110, because compression is not perfect on this gun. Alright, so this is a battery that I told him to go ahead and purchase. I told him to buy 3 of these. Might as well. He can use these batteries in this gun and his M4, especially if he does the upgrades that I told him to, or that I recommended him to for the M4, then it'll get pretty identical performance. Of course, like I said, I'm going to try to get the M4 to be higher FPS, but other than that, everything else should be pretty similar. Now, the reason why I told him to get such small ones is because, well, with the SCAR, like I said, you're going to want a battery that you can basically be out of the way and not pinch anything. So, what he's going to have to do here is plug in the battery. It is Tamiya. I asked him if he wanted me to wire it to Dean's and buy some Dean's LiPos that I have for sale, but he just didn't really seem that interested, so I was like, oh, I'll just send you a link to new ones to buy, so they come Tamiya. Tamiya is really not a big deal. It really isn't, especially, like I said, with how much he plays. If this was a person that played even once a month, then I would be more concerned, but I'm not concerned considering he's probably going to play a few times a year. So that is the stock completely forward, and as you can see, you can move it in and out and not hinder anything. You're just going to need to be careful, especially when you hinge. You can see the wires right there, which honestly I like. I like this type of system. The VFCs, they have tabs here that go through the hinge. It's a little bit sleeker, more realistic, but this is a lot easier to upgrade, to put a MOSFET in here. You could just do a rear-wired BTC MOSFET and just call it a day. You know, with the Chimera, you couldn't. Well, you might be able to fit a Chimera board in here, probably not. But you could put a Spectre in here easily and have no issues, or an ASCU or whatever choice of MOSFET, or even a basic MOSFET. You should be able to fit the basic MOSFET board through here. Through here, probably not. So you'd have to just Dremel it out. But that's easy work. So that's that. So as far as performance, trigger response is pretty good. It does pre-cock, which is nice. Full auto. That's 30 rounds a second. I will put it through the chrono just to confirm for you guys. Alright, so let's go ahead and chrono this. I got the chrono set for 0.2s. I'm just going to be using a high cap for this portion of the test. Alright. 348, 353, 356, 356, 356, 357, 361, 356, 357, 353, 356, 356, 351, so just over 350. 354. Joules is 1.016, so almost 1.2. Fairly close. 355. 353. 353. 358. 358. 1.16-ish joules, so not even 1.2 with the 2. 30.38. And that's 350 FPS with a 0.2, 350.8, so it's keeping its FPS there on full auto, which is good. 30.2, 355. As far as range and accuracy, again, it is stock, but it does come with the Mad Bull orange bucking, which with these 0.2s actually shoots pretty good. So I'd just use 0.2s, honestly. Okay, there's a few skips there. Mag is empty though. Yeah, I went through all of them, so none even dropped out. So, fairly good feeding on that one. Let's go ahead and try the Elite Force, which is very similar to those. It just holds more. A little bit more wobble. Holds about 140-ish. Still shooting, I'd say, a good 150 feet. Again, all stock parts, 350 FPS. Trigger response is pretty good, honestly. Even with it being a high-speed motor, not a high torque, you're still going to get some pretty good precocking and such. Full auto. Man, that feeds perfect. Okay, at the end of the magazine, there's some skips. You can hear them. Magazine is empty. Alright, so the next magazine we're going to try is the BAMF. These hold roughly, I think, 180 or so. So I could tell noticeably this took a lot more ammo. So these do have issues fitting into some guns with the lip here. So when they fit your gun, they feed fantastically. But when they don't fit your gun, they're not going to feed. So some people have to sand this down or just use totally different mags. So with this, it seems to click into place fine, and that lip is low enough. So let's test it. Let's try full auto. Seems to feed fine. Okay, so 2 BBs fell out of the hop-up. See if there's any in the mag. 1. Okay, that fed flawlessly through the whole thing. Didn't even skip. Fed through the whole thing. So, perfect feeding on those two. Still pretty good. But rate of fire is up there. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know, and let's get to the M4. Hey guys, so this is the second portion of the video. This is the M4 that I'm working on. Now, I do want to mention I actually got a new camera. Contour Roam 3 is actually what I'm recording on right now. This is my old one. This is what the SCAR portion of the video was filmed on, so hopefully you'll see the difference. Now, the difference between these two, the Roam 2 runs at 1080p at 30 frames a second, whereas the Roam 3 runs at
60 frames a second at 1080p. So again, Roam 3, 60 frames a second, 1080p. Roam 2, 30 frames a second, 1080p. So gonna have better quality as far as the filming on the Roam 3. So possibly you might be able to see BBs when the camera is actually strapped to my mask. You might be able to see the BBs a lot better shooting. Now it's still a wide lens, but potentially since it has better frames a second, you might be able to see BBs flying. It should be a little bit crisper as far as just the quality of the film. Also, it's going to be a lot better for indoor, a lot better. Now you're seeing the portion with the Roam 3 right now. Now skip back, 3 minutes to the portion of where I was doing with the recording with the SCAR, and that was with the Roam 2, and you can see the difference side by side. And in fact, this should be darker because in that video I had my window open and it was daylight out, so more light. Now there's less light, but I guarantee you the lighting is going to be better because the Roam 3 is much better for lighting. So those of you that have been complaining in the comment sections, rightfully so, on my indoor gameplay, it's insanely dark, almost no matter where I go play. And that's basically due to this. The Roam 3 is a lot better. Obviously depends on what field I go to. Some fields have 1 light, 2 lights, and then a lot of fields have plenty of lights, but still it's just dark with the Roam 2. So with the Roam 3, it's going to be much, much better. I'm actually selling my old Roam 2, but I'm keeping this Roam 3, and I'm actually also going to be purchasing a Contour Roam 2 with a Rage Cam, the Zoom Cam. So you're going to be able to, I'll be able to strap that to my gun, and you'll be able to see the BBs fly in the air. So pretty cool perspective, hopefully, so you guys will be able to enjoy that. Here is the M4. So this is actually front wired, unfortunately. Rear wired stuff's a lot better, but I can work on them. It is a plastic body ECHO1 M4. Now, in order to be more budget-minded on this gun, I didn't end up doing as much work as I was going to. I didn't mess with the spring. This is not shooting 400 FPS. It's not shooting 30 rounds a second. We're using the stock ECHO1 gears. The only upgrade inside of this gun is a pre-lightened SHS piston and a Aries high-torque motor. These are the motors that come in the Amoebas. They're not really high torque. The trigger response is pretty dang good. The magnets aren't strong, but the trigger response is actually pretty good. And I'll show you guys in the video, especially with an 11.1. It's actually getting pretty good power, and trigger response is good. As far as rate of fire, it's slow. It's probably like 18, maybe 16 rounds a second with an 11.1. It is slow, but it's a torquey motor, and the SCAR that I built him shoots 30 rounds a second, so he has more of a speed gun, and then this is very low rate of fire. But again, really good trigger response on this gun. And it's budget-minded, so $40 flat, and included the cost of the motor and the price I charged him. I only charged him $10 for this motor, $30 to work on the gun, when I probably should have done $20 for the motor. But whatever, I give people good deals. So as far as externals, you got a standard LE stock plastic, metal buffer tube, plastic body. It is a 2-piece top-up, unfortunately, kind of sucks. It does have the Madville blue bucking in here, which comes with ECHO1 stock, which is nice. They're good buckings. They shoot really good. Stock pistol grip, stock plastic body, charging handle, stock handguard, metal outer barrel. Now, what's nice about this handguard is it does have room for an 11.1 LiPo. With the crane stock, it'd be more accessible. You can swap rails out on this. It would be much, much nicer. With this, he's kind of stuck with this. He didn't say anything about swapping the externals on here, so I assume he's okay with this plain handguard, which kind of sucks. Now, the LiPo that we're using is actually the exact same LiPo that I recommended him for the SCAR, so he's going to get 3 of these. It's 11.1 20 to 40C, just 1,000 milliamp. It's to me a connector still. It fits fine in here, no issues whatsoever. I'm considering the person probably, like I said, probably just plays backyard games, doesn't really go to sanctioned fields, and if he does, if it shoots too hot, then he's going to have to pay the field to put a weaker spring in it if he plays indoor. So it's nice for him just to have both of his guns sub 350 FPS so he can literally play anywhere he wants, which is nice. When you're a new player and you want to go try out some other field, you can just, go and play and not worry about shooting too hot. And, having to pay a tech to swap your spring out or cut it or whatever the case may be. The VFC, it holds the least thing. It's like 120, maybe a little less. Okay. These are .2s. These are crappy .2s, but actually pretty good. And as you can see, trigger response is actually not bad. Again, stop gears. Let's go ahead and test rate of fire on here. 18.66, 350, so it's a little bit higher FPS than I thought. 347, 18 rounds a second. Alright, so let's try the Elite Force mid-cap. These are common, super common mid-caps. They fit fine in this mag well and don't wobble whatsoever, so it's probably going to be a good mag. And again, it's only running, what, almost 19 rounds a second, so almost anything's going to feed in here, bet. Okay, guys, you can't spam it. Otherwise, mechanical trigger systems are cringe. It's actually really crisp. It does precock, which is nice. It's really crisp on the precock, though. It's like very consistent. When I had a high-speed motor in here, the WE high-speed motor that I have, it was very inconsistent. It was overspinning sometimes. This is very, very crisp and consistent. So good on these Aries motors, but the magnets just aren't strong. But other than that, good performance. So, there you go. I know that mag isn't out. Oh, what do you know? Mag jammed up. So you can see there's a piece of plastic in there and the BBs are stuck. Let's go ahead and continue. Alright, so I'd say it feeds fine. The gun's done. It was really easy to do. The SCAR was much more of a pain. But again, the SCAR's running 30 rounds a second, 350 FPS. This is running about 18 rounds a second at 350 FPS. So if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.